Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I am not sharing a quick trick for presentation. I will be sharing about pivot table. Before I get into the details on how to create and manipulate pivot tables, I would like to show you how pivot table works and why it is a great help in analyzing your data. Here, I have a pivot table. As you can see, it is a regular data table with rows and columns, just like a normal report. The difference is that a pivot table is unlike a static report. It allows you to rearrange your data to provide insights from different perspectives. On the right, there's pivot table fields, and here is where you edit your pivot table. From here, you can see the available fields in your data. So you can drag and release any of the fields into the areas below. Let's go through this example. I will first empty this area for now. So I would want to see the total spend for Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie as DMBHD for respective year. I will drag the supplier into rows, year into column, and spend into values. The table will appear and change as you drag fields into or out of these areas. Now let's have a view of spend for respective products. I will just drag product under supplier. And you can see pivot table will automatically create a grand total for you as well. Let's try another example. I would want to know which is the highest product spent for respective state. I will move the state into row. I will, as you can see, state will be the first, will appear first in the row because that is my main filter right now. So I'll be able to tell which is the best selling fruits in respective areas and states. So I hope you will have a good idea on how pivot table function. Now let's move to data for pivot table. So here is my list of data. To be able to create pivot table using this data, we need to make sure there are no blank rows. So if I scroll down this list, you will see that there are no blank rows. However, it is also okay to have blank cells, just that it will be included in your pivot table as blanks. To create an Excel table, click on any cell in your data list, and then on the Home tab, click Format as Table and pick any of these. Then in the Format as Table dialog box, verify that Excel has correctly identified where your data lies. So in my case, it is A1 through G101, and then Excel has detected that your table has header. Those are the supplier, product, quantity, state, year, month, and also spend. So let me just quickly scroll down to make sure it is 101. So as you can see, the last data is 101. So I can, if everything looks okay, I can click OK. You can, it will actually appear this way now. You can actually create a pivot table from the earlier data set. However, Excel tables are the best source for pivot table data because Excel refers to the table as a whole, regardless of how many rows it contains, and not just a specific group of cells that you might have to change when you have amendment. So let me just edit one. I will copy this whole thing here. My cell should have 102 right now. So if you scroll down, it should automatically capture the changes. So as you can see, it changed to 102. Lastly, before proceed with creating pivot table, we will need to identify the name of our table data source. Click on the data set and go to design. Here, you can see our table known as table 4. To create pivot table, click on the data set, then click on Insert tab and click Pivot Table option. When you do, Excel display the Create Pivot Table dialog box. It is important to check if Excel has identified your data correctly, and in this case, it is table 4, and you can see the hyphen outline around the selected Excel table. Once we confirm everything is right, then you need to decide where you want the pivot table report to be created. I always place my report on a new worksheet, and as you can see, the new worksheet option has been selected by default because that's the most common choice. However, if you did want to create your pivot table on an existing worksheet, for example, starting at J2 on this worksheet, then you can select the existing worksheet option and then click on the collapse dialog button, and I want to create it on J2, and then click back here and insert OK. As you can see, the location is the pivot table is created as per the location that you have inserted earlier. I'll go back to my original choice of creating it in a new worksheet. Okay. So when I do, Excel create a new worksheet and display a blank pivot table and display the pivot table list on your right. If for any reason you don't see the pivot table field list task pane over here on the right click on your pivot table and you'll be able to see show field list. In my case, it is hide field list because it's already appear. So from there, we can actually drag and create table in any way that we want to display the data. So let's play around with our data. So if you recall earlier, we put in supplier under rows, and then we have our year on column and the spend on values. So this appear exactly how we play with it earlier. And you can even put in the product under supplier. So everything appear as how you see it in the pivot table introduction. So you may have noticed on the bottom side, there is a checkbox for defer layout update. By default, it is unchecked, which means the pivot table layout gets updated as soon as you make changes in the pivot table areas. By checking it, the pivot table layout will only be updated when you click update. So that's all for today's sharing. I hope you liked the video and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.